Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We're coming at you on July 7th, 2021. Somehow we've managed to get through almost 6 months of it's just a horrific Biden administration. I'm literally just amazed that we're not underwater at this point after watching that guy. But I guess every day is a new adventure. But before we get into any of the topics of the day, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And my name is Jason Fee, and I'll be your host today. So getting right into it, one of the topics, and this one was sort of inspired by some background chat between the three of us and a little bit of disagreement. We thought, man, we ought to get this on air because, it's a rich topic. But essentially, in 2020, we really had our property rights sort of upended by government. Aside from there being lockdowns and such, there were, a lot of instances where there were just complete violations of property rights and challenges to people being able to defend those property rights as well. And one of the first topics I wanted to bring up on that was the issue of self-defense in these situations, where you have, you're in a period of, I guess, mobs where you're not sure exactly at what level of trespass they're about to visit upon you. As well, we also have, and can you defend yourself? At what point can you defend yourself in those situations from a liberty perspective and a legal perspective? And conversely, we've had situations like in the Chaz, where you literally had people who were invading the property rights of other people in the commons and carrying guns as well. And there seem to be two different standards of justice in this as far as how the law regarded these people. So in the case of the McCloskeys, they were actually, it was, to give the background, the first picture we showed were the husband and wife. They were at home. Suddenly there's a mob outside in their private community, busted through a gate. And this is in a backdrop where many cities have burned with mobs coming through places. And so they came out, they got their guns, and they confronted the protesters in their front yard holding their weapons. And they were arrested, by the way, for this and charged.
They were I don't think they were ever arrested, but they were charged, though. They were indicted and charged. Okay.
I thought they were arrested, but they were at least charged then. Yes. They had the gun confiscated. Now, you go to the Chaz, and you literally had public streets and private businesses, and literally a roving mob came through, took it over, carried guns around, pointed them at people, even wound up killing some people in the end of the thing. And yet, until the deaths, I don't think they arrested anybody for gun crimes in those particular areas.
No.
So, and certainly, one of the other crazy things is while people were committing a lot of these property crimes, even if they were arrested, it turned out that a lot of these cities were just releasing the people immediately without bail. So it just, kind of a crazy upside down time. So let's get right into it. I mean, what do you guys think about this? And sort of getting back to the McCloskeys, should they have been able to do what they did in light of the situation or not? I mean, is it something where, should you be able to stand out on your property? And if you think you're being threatened, stand there with a gun defending your property?
First of all, a question for Leon, because you seem to really be knowledgeable about this, and I may not be quite as about this particular incident, but the McCloskeys pled down to I think one or two misdemeanors. Do you know what exactly those misdemeanors were?
Oh, no, I'm not sure. I didn't.
Jason?
I should have known. I should know, but I've forgotten.
I'm not sure what the final misdemeanors are, but I know they did take their guns from them, and they were charging them. And it's funny too, because as a side piece of trivia, the woman's gun apparently was disabled. It was apparently
not working.
evidence they had for
a
case they were working on, because they themselves were attorneys. And so when they took this gun from them, as they confiscated them, the prosecutor actually took the gun apart and put it together to make it work again, so they could charge them with having an actual firearm. So in reality, I think it was only Tim. Was that an AR-15 that the picture of Klosky was?
It was an AR-15. Yes.
Yeah. So in reality, that's the only gun that was actually working. Although I'm sure the protesters didn't know the other pea shooter that she was holding.
Or as is commonly termed, the evil black rifle.
With
a mind of its own.
Yes.
Able to shoot 400 rounds per second.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Or as Biden calls it, an assault weapon. Although I suppose since she was pointing the other gun, that now is also probably an assault weapon. Everything's an assault, thing, except his single barrel shotgun that he keeps.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're assaulting someone illegally and immorally with a firearm, pretty much they're all assault weapons.
Indeed.
Or even a knife or a bat or anything. And anyway. In this day and age, you've really got to be careful, because it is upside down, and the McCloskeys get in trouble for doing something legal under Missouri law. I think it's Missouri, right?
Yeah.
It's Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. It is, yes.
Yeah. So apparently, it's legal to stand your ground. They've there's a term for the area around your house, like the backyard and front yard. There's an actual legal term for it that these laws that they have in Missouri apply. And so they were in that zone. They were in their property. And in fact, the whole area was private property of the whole neighborhood. So yeah, these protesters were in violation of the law. They were trespassing, and they didn't get in trouble in the least, just like the other people in all the other riot zones across the nation never got in trouble. So, here's the situation today is you have to be extremely careful with how you go about defending yourself, good, bad, or indifferent. And again, I think Leon and you, Jason, are probably going to side with property rights and being able to defend your property. And I may lean toward the legality. And in my head, it's the morality of killing somebody over your rose bushes and your TV set and your vehicle and that kind of thing. So I have a moral issue with taking a life over those kinds of things, as well as, and it's in the law. It's been that way a long time. So anyway, that's I think our differences of opinion. Is that pretty good?
Well, Tim, I think, if someone could just walk on to my property, and take my property away, that is the fruits of my labor, okay? If they can do that and I cannot shoot them, then that is slavery. Okay? And I think slavery is banned in this country. So nobody should be able to walk in and take the fruits of my labor. Okay? Take the fruits of my labor.
Except the government.
Well, even the government I have a problem with, but yes, they have the law on their side.
Well, remember, Biden said you need an F-15 to take him on.
That's right. I'll have to get an F-15 to take on Biden, I guess.
An assault F-15.
Yes. I am joking about taking on Biden. Okay, I'm joking, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, now, but the point is though, we are talking about the fruits of our labor. Maybe it might look like a television. Maybe it might look like a stove. Maybe it might look like my watch or my iPhone or something like that. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, it is the fruits of my labor. And if somebody could just walk into my property and take that away, that's slavery. That is plain and simple slavery.
Oh, okay, but you mentioned that you don't have you have a problem with the government being able to do it, but you're not going to oppose that with force because it's legal for them to take your property. And what I'm saying is the law is siding with those people that are stealing your vehicle out from in front of your driveway. For example, they broke into your car and they're about to hotwire it and drive off with it, and you come out with your weapon of choice and shoot through the windshield and kill them right there. You still have your car, but the law is going to tell you that you need to go to prison after being convicted, because there's no way that person was threatening your life, and that is the law. So the law, in just the same way as the government taking our fruits of our labor, in the fact that they tax us to death here, there, and everywhere, the exact same thing. And if anything is slavery, it's that. But I have an issue, and I don't think that it's quite slavery when someone steals from you. It's something bad. It's different type of bad, but I don't call it slavery. I do call the government, though.
But you're saying that no. One difference, Tim. Jason, I'm sorry. One thing I want to say something here in response to Tim. I am saying, sure, somebody could come onto my property and steal. I am not home. They take it. I'm not saying if we end up in court, there should be sentenced to death for that. But I am simply saying, if they walk onto my property and I am here, okay, I have the right, morally and legally in most states of the union, I believe, to defend my life and my property. I don't know what they're going to do next. If they want to take my phone, and it looked like they only want to take my phone, I don't know if they're going to turn around and want to attack my wife. I don't know. I don't know their intentions, and I really don't care. I should shoot them immediately.
Well, and let me bring in two real quick clarifications. One is a point that Leon was just about to make, that, you know, post hoc, we can look back at it and say, oh, that's all this person did. You know, he only wanted the toaster or the car or whatever it was. And in that case, if we rationally knew that at the time, maybe we could make that decision to say, oh, well, this is all it is, and that's all it's going to be, then maybe I can just, okay, you know, forget it. But, you know, the problem is they're not playing by a rule book. They're not telling you exactly, you know, they haven't sent you a message that, hey, I'm coming over there and I'm just going to take that and you're not going to stop me. And, you know, they're showing up in violating you by being on the property. You don't know where they're going to stop. You know, you don't know what enough is, if it was just going to be the toast. Now, you gave the example of a car, Tim. That's a little more, you know, encapsulated. So, you know, I mean, maybe he'll be back for your next car, but at least at the moment, he's only there for that car.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, what if the kid stealing the car is 12 years old or 13 and weighs 105 pounds and has no weapon of any kind except, you know, a screwdriver or whatever to get into the car, and that's it. And you know, from a distance where they're not threatening you shoot them and kill them. And yeah, I'm just telling you, it's, to me, never mind the legality. To me, it's immoral to take somebody's life, which is you can replace a car, but you can't replace human life. And so I just have an issue with that. I understand it's an affront to our liberty and an affront to, I understand that. Okay, I get that. There's a lot of affronts to my liberty going on today.
I agree.
Especially today. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to go kill somebody over it, though. You know,
it depends on what the affront is, Tim. Seriously. Now,
well, yeah.
Look at that 12-year-old kid you just mentioned there. Okay, so yes, you're right. It's tragic if I end up shooting a 12-year-old kid because you're stealing my car in my front yard. Okay, but I want you to remember something of the kid. I don't know with this kid. It happened in Chicago.
You're breaking up, Leon.
Huh?
You're breaking up.
I'm sorry. Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you were. It seems like the more excited you get. I mean, when you have one thing, one finger, it doesn't do anything. But when you do two fingers,
we got a problem.
It does something to your internet. I'm not sure what.
All right.
Anyway, if you could just go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Stay right there.
Stay right
no
there.
fingers, and make your point. That it was a great point you were making. About
about Adam Toledo.
Kid.
Okay, Adam Toledo actually was 13 years old. He and another guy, 2:00 in the morning, were shooting at cars. Okay, both shooting at cars in Chicago. The police confronted them. Somebody called the police. The police confronted them on the street. They got the guy down. The guy was about 20 years old or something like that. Adam Toledo, 13 years old, decided to run. He ran into a dark alley. He took the police officer down a dark alley. Down the dark alley, at the last second, Adam Toledo appeared to be surrendering. If you look at the very last frame of all the things you see, it looks like he was turning around to surrender. The police officer, in that split second, had to make a decision. Okay? Now, the police officer know there's guns involved because they were shooting. The police officer, he just he confronted him in a semi-lighted area. Adam Toledo took him down a dark alley. The police officer shot him in the dark alley. Now, was the police officer wrong in that point? I say no. It turned out Adam Toledo had a gun. Well, he had tried to throw it behind the fence, but they found it. He had a gun. Yeah. 13 years old. Now, I wonder where the hell his parents was, but that's a different discussion. But this is just a point. When a guy is standing out front my yard, stealing my car, I don't know what next he's going to do. Okay? I don't know. So I think I have to defend my property, even though the property is on public street. I have to defend it.
Okay, well, yeah, two different things there. The police officer in the heat of the moment had to make a split-second decision in poor light and so on. And the kid had just discarded the firearm. Maybe he was, and probably was surrendering. But, all bets are off. I mean, if you're shooting at cars, you get and run from the police, the ability or the risk of being shot is extremely high. Okay, and I'm just saying that, to go back to my example that we're both discussing, Leon, and I appreciate that, of the kid sitting in the car trying to hotwire it. I seriously doubt, when he's sitting in my car trying to get the car started, that he's got any intentions of shooting me. Maybe he does. I mean, if I confront him, then, and of course, if you go to a firearms instructor, most of them that I've read, heard, and been around will tell you that, don't expose yourself unnecessarily. If someone's stealing your car, just start calling the police and let them handle it. It's their job to apprehend these people, not ours. If someone has got the means and the opportunity and seems to be intent on doing you harm, it's at that point that you can take their life to save yours, because that's what it is. It's to try to save your life, not to save your property. So that's just where we disagree. I think we're going to have to accept that disagreement. I simply do not want to kill someone over property.
Let me jump in here too, because this is one of the other points I wanted to try and clarify as well. So I guess at what point, is it okay for you to defend your property then in your mind? Because if you literally don't know where the takings of property ends, I mean, so you say, oh, it's a TV or it's a toaster or whatever, then yeah, it seems, oh my gosh, what a horrific exchange, somebody's life for a TV or a toaster. But if we're living in a state where the police have just said, hey, we're not going to show up, we're not going to do anything. So they're essentially, and that's where the McCloskeys were at that point. I mean, they were essentially in a reality where the police just weren't showing up to do anything about these types of situations. So in that case, where is the line? At what point? Now, if we had this societal agreement where we said, hey, somebody has trespassed on your property, don't worry, the police are going to take care of it. They're going to be there, and that's their responsibility. So I'll just sit back and away we go. But the problem is we're getting to a point where people are literally just being told, hey, look, you can walk into Walgreens as long as you don't take over $1,000 worth of stuff. you're okay. I mean, or whatever store. In fact, go to all the stores and, just individually take $1,000
Yeah.
worth of stuff. Head over to Leon's house and take $1,000.
Yeah. Right. I mean, in San Francisco, they are closing stores now because of the crime issue. People just walking in broad daylight and walking out with stuff in San Francisco. That's going on right now as we speak. The stores are beginning to close at 6 o'clock. Because they don't want to stay open until 9, because that is when the scumbags come out.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, at what point? Because at some point, if they take all your property, you are effectively a slave, like Leon is saying. I mean, if they can come in with impunity and take whatever they want, whenever they want, and you can't defend yourself because they say, hey, I'm only here for property. So there's got to be some cutoff there where you can say, hey, look, at some point, I'm not letting you take this stuff. So, I mean, would you say that there's some point there?
Well, you frame the question around the toaster, and I guess now you're going a little further. In this day and age, with the rioting going on, it is a situation where it could get to the point where the police are not going to show up, period. And if rioters wanted to go barging from house to house in your neighborhood, and they barge into your house, and they're in there and they're just going to take stuff, okay? And if somebody tries to stop them, maybe they'll do violence then. But until then, they're not gonna. Then it's a bit of a gray area there. I mean, yeah, and they'll take everything. Let's just assume they'll take everything out of the house. Okay, unless you do something. Okay, well, number one, as soon as they walk through that door, if you tell them go away and they take one step forward into your house, at that point in time, even in California, you have the right to stop them from coming into your space. Okay, you have retreated. You can't go any further than your house. And so I would say that in my situation, you would probably still go to trial, and it may look bad for you. And all those rioters that stole all that stuff out of all your neighbors' houses, because the neighbors didn't have a gun and they let them do what they wanted to do, those rioters would go away scot-free in today's situation. That's a fact that we are it's horrible, and we shouldn't be in this situation. It's wrong, and I don't know what to do about it, but that's the fact. And so I'm just saying, every situation is different, and and when you're sitting there on trial, and the prosecuting attorney is making his case against you for killing somebody for stealing your stuff, you're going to have the right answer. I mean, well, not you, but I mean, you see what I'm saying? They're going to have to try to make a case that you did it.
Yeah, but that is the difference between whether we're talking about principles of liberty, should you be able to defend yourself, versus does the law allow you to defend yourself? So
well, I'm saying you should, and I'm saying that at your front door, that's where it stops. That's where the buck stops, right there. Leon thinks it's out in his driveway where it stops. But I'm here to say that morally,
could be if he's parked in front of a Walgreens too. And somebody tries to take his car.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can see Leon, if he was armed, he could probably point his gun at the guy saying, I don't know if he would pull the trigger, though. I mean, it all comes down to
that. Pulling the trigger to me is the last resort, okay? You're trying not to shoot the person, but there's at some point in time where there going to be no, I just can't hesitate, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, well, you can tell that to the judge then.
Tim, I'm sure you'll find a good lawyer to defend me. I'm not worried about it.
You're going to need one.
Probably so.
So will I, no matter how right I am. Everybody, especially in California, everybody in a justifiable or homicide is going to be a homicide. Whether or not it's justified is going to be up to the jury of your peers, and they're going to be there. Yeah.
Indeed,
with that,
indeed.
we are at the point in our show, the Knucklehead Noise Control. We didn't get to any of the other topics, but hey, it was a good discussion. So, wow, we got other noises too to let us know.
Spam risk.
Okay. Well, anyways, this particular thing, in all of this crazy talk we've had about race, anti-racism, and all this other stuff, this was kind of a funny video that surfaced recently of 2019 Aspen Ideas Fest. I guess they have this thing. It's kind of like a Big TED thing or something. But Ibram X. Kendi, noted anti-racist, was giving a talk about anti-racism at that point, and it was funny because all of this talk about wanting to push this stuff in society, you would think they could at least define the terms. But in this particular case, a person asked Ibram Kendi during the talk, he said, you talked about the importance of defining racism, but unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer? Like, how do you define racism? And so Kendi's answer was, so racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that tend to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. And so the questioner, I guess, came back and asked for clarification, and everybody just kind of laughed in the audience because he didn't really answer. He just said racism is racism, essentially. He said, sure. He said, a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. So, I mean, he came back for a second swipe and just said, yeah, racism is racism.
Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You jump into it.
It's just the sad reality of this is this idiot is making maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars talking this kind of damn nonsense. Well,
millions.
Yeah, probably millions. He even have a book out there, and all sorts of people going to read it. And the things that this man is pushing is nothing but pure poison. It's as venomous as the most poisonous snake in the world. This guy is who trying to lead us to this utopia where everything's gonna be nice and wonderful, where we'll have all this racial equity and everything's gonna be nice and wonderful. And yet, this idiot cannot even define this thing that he's supposed to be an expert at. God help us with these people. These race hustlers and poverty pimps that we have running around. God help us.
Wow. Well, we're kind of, I say gun control is racism.
There we go.
The minimum wage is racism.
Oh, I believe that too.
Big government. In fact, has been at times racist.
It's very racist, to be honest. I mean, slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. Yeah. Okay. And the Great Society is also legal. And look at what's happening to blacks in the inner cities today.
Yeah. Well, with that said, we kind of reached the definition of the time of the end of our show here. So with that said, we thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you join us for the next one.
Bye.
Till then, be free.
Yep. Indeed. Bye.